put me to sleep. But I want you to know.
We need to,
All right.
we need to pass
Fine.
this when Mr. Ganger gets up to
We
speak.
have,
We
Paul
need to pass
connected.
these out to the.
Okay.
I don't see him in here.
Hi.
Hi, how are you
I'm
doing?
not
We have Paul
Good
connected.
morning, Commissioner.
Rebecca,
I don't see him
Look
in
at there.
here, so I don't know exactly what to do about
you've
it.
got a few more minutes.
I'm getting the hang of
You're
that.
number three. You're number three.
Oh, did you do
Yeah.
this already?
Oh, I've learned.
Yeah, you usually say.
Oh, did you?
Need my check.
That would be her. I put it in. I put it in for you.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
Did you turn on the lights?
You have? It's
It's
79.
shaming me. It's so painful to do.
You've turned it in. You know what? I have never turned it in, but I started thinking now this is like the fifth one. I must turn it in.
Make sure you're on.
Oh. Is this on? I don't
They're all
know.
17.
Just go to the text.
If you could. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there they are.
You on?
No, you just have to check back. Yeah, I always thought you had to do the questions and everything, but you don't.
What?
You don't have to do them? Oh, I thought you did.
Well, I did too. For next year.
The scores don't.
Doesn't seem quite right if you don't take the test.
I copied it out and printed it, so.
Every year, you just pull it back out of the drawer.
Copied it from last year.
You guys are supposed to get 100%, but the score is not required.
Yeah. Well, I did get 100% before. This time,
Hey,
I didn't even take the.
Rebecca, should I call Lions?
I just resent the invitation to him, but I still don't see him on here, so I'm not sure what to do.
Well, I can go, I'll give him a call. Okay, all right.
Up a little bit. Everything seems to be fixed except for our storm.
Yeah.
Just remember, tomorrow is starting November's week for King Tide.
Thanks.
I'm just a messenger.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
I'm gonna try to pray harder.
You got what?
Try to pray harder. No, that's part of my discussion with
Yeah,
managers.
you know, even with our new seawall, our boat is so high up all the water. John, it's all rising.
What's the elevation of your seawall? I don't remember. Is it 6 feet?
I have to look now. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah.
I have it at now.
Right.
It was so high the other night.
Well,
I thought I was gonna have the boat in my pool. That high.
Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Rebecca, how are we doing?
I still don't see him in here, but I guess he'll come in.
If he comes in, he comes in, he doesn't count as quorum. Anyways, let's call the meeting to order. Rise and pledge the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Rita, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Commissioner White.
Present?
Commissioner Orthwine.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Here.
Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Let the record show that at the moment, Commissioner Lyons is absent. We're expecting him to appear. And we also have present the town manager, Mr. Dunham, the assistant town attorney, Mr. Nazaro, police chief Allen, and myself.
Very good, thank you. We've been presented with the minutes from our last meeting on October 9th. Are there any comments, changes, additions? No, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second?
Still,
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein? Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yeah.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons? No.
Still not here.
Oh, he just got here.
All right, he's lying. Well, maybe not.
There he is.
Good morning, Paul.
Oh, wait.
Oh, that's right, there's no audio? Okay, let's move on. There is a change to the agenda. Item 10A is going to now be the proclamation that you should each have a copy in front of you for Maryland Marriage Day. We'll get to that at section 10. Any other changes, Ms. Taylor?
No.
Thank you. Our next meeting is December 11th at 9 a.m. for anyone who wishes to attend. Is there any comment from the public? Yes, Bob?
Are we doing this now, or?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can I take this off?
Yes, you may.
This is gonna be a little unusual, but, being idle as I am, and I won't say bored, but, my wife and I are by ourselves, and I finally got around to cleaning out a box that my father had left in our home. And he passed away 30 years ago, so it's been sitting around for quite a while. It is a record of everything that he threw into a box back in the 1970s, after he had purchased our home in 1969. And at the time, the ocean was pounding against the seawall. And after we saw the house the first time, we were told that the woman who owned it, the widow of a U.S. Army general, he was a general in World War I and World War II, and he was closely associated with the engineers. And he went to the woman, he and I and my mother went to the hospital where the woman was literally blind, could hardly speak, and her husband had been the president of the Good Samaritan Hospital. And he had willed his home to the Good Samaritan Hospital, and they had decided they were going to dump it. And we didn't quite know why. And Dad said, on Easter Day, 1969, let's go down and see that house, because the grandson, Lila Vanderbilt Webb, who had built the house in 1930, said the house was going to be torn down. And so on Easter Day, 1969, we drove down to the house, walked around. I actually broke in, the window was open, so I just snuck in and opened the door. And we walked around the house, and it was, I forget I said that, that's not, but we walked around the house, and Dad said, this place is phenomenal. I don't know quite, what to do, but we found out that the woman who whose husband was the Army general, had lived there, was still alive, and we made an appointment and went over and talked to her. And Dad said, why, it seems like it's a terrific house, just needs to be fixed up, because she had been in the hospital for over a year. And she said that the reason they were going to get rid of it, the Good Samaritan was going to get rid of it, was because the ocean at that point in time was pounding against the seawall. The seawall was unique. There is no other seawall in Gulfstream, and probably on Earth that was designed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and built 20 feet down into the coral. That seawall will still be around when the house is gone. It's a phenomenal seawall. But as you can see from some of those pictures, the ocean was pounding against the seawall. And at that point in time, this is 1969, there was no beach at all. Gulfstream had no beach. And those of us who are old enough to remember that find it almost impossible to believe that my father, using the general's plan, figured out how to get a beach back. It was 200 feet when the house was built, 200-foot beach from the edge to the water. And it was zero when Dad bought the house. No beach at all. And my father was basically a farm boy. He did not have any technical knowledge whatsoever. He'd never probably been in the ocean, but he figured there's got to be, if the general says there's a way to fix the problem, I'll figure out how to do it and we'll get it fixed. And so when I opened this box, and it's a big box with all papers, he just threw them into the box, the story emerged. And it is truly a fascinating story of how I think two people, a man who was Dad's neighbor in Ocean Ridge, where he then lived, and my father, figured out how to get a beach back. And so what I've done is I've taken all that, I've given you a little quick summary of what happened. If you're at all interested, you might read it. If you're not, I understand. But I'm going to give it next week or next month at least to the Delray Beach Historical Society, which two of the people in this room have been head of at one point in our lives. Because I think it's a story that really needs to be told. It's a story about how individuals, citizens, decided, we got a problem here and we got to fix it. And they figured out how to fix it. And it turned out that a study that my father and a few people in Gulfstream had put together ended up being what was done by Delray. It was a scientist that no one knew of. Dad interviewed 5 scientists. This guy said, I swear I know how to do it. He wrote a report, a study. Our great mayor here in town said, it's a great idea, but we'll never be able to afford it. If you guys want to go do it, it's your business, but we'll never be able to afford it as a town. It would have been $1 million, I think it's $1.8 million, it's in my write-up, over $1 million, when the property value of Gulfstream was $20 million. That was our taxable base, $20 million. It's now over $2 billion. It's not just because we got a beach back, but getting the beach back allowed for other development, and eventually this town truly prospered. And I frankly think that's a story that needs to be told. How a citizen, just one guy, he was in charge of the mayor made him head of a committee, and he figured out how to do it. Very interesting.
Well, thank you, Bob. It is very interesting, and your books are also of historical significance to Gulfstream and Delray Beach, which we keep here, not just your one on the Vanderbilt Web Home, but also your recent autobiography, which also touches on a number of the issues and growth and development of the town of Gulfstream. So we're very grateful for this as well as what you've done.
Thank you. If anybody bothers to read it and has any thoughts or knows somebody who knows something, I'm trying to reach a gentleman who lived as a neighbor of theirs in Ocean Ridge and then led the charge in Delray. He's an attorney. If anybody knows how to get a hold of him, I've been trying to reach him for, as a matter of fact, I was going to come to this meeting last month. I can't get a hold of him. He's in a nursing home. He may not be able to answer questions, but I'd like to get his perspective. And then we're gonna build a file at the Delray Beach Historical Society about the history of the beach, which is very important because it is a driver of Delray Beach's, prosperity.
Property values and the development here.
Right.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
Very much. We do have something else that gives me great pleasure to introduce the League of Cities. Florida League of Cities normally would be here in person, but they're coming by video today to honor one of our own, Commissioner Joan Ortwein, who, she may not even know it, but is celebrating 25 years and ongoing of service on the Gulfstream Town Commission. Joan's legacy is not just 25 years, it's actually 32. She served 7 years on the ARPD, was the chairman of that board before moving on to the commission, where she served as vice mayor for many years and served as mayor of this town. It is her intellect, her honesty, her integrity, her sense of humor that has helped lead Gulfstream forward through those 25 years on this commission, making this town really one of character and livability that is unique in the state of Florida. Rebecca, would you please play the Florida League of Cities?
Today, the League is excited to recognize Joan K. Ortwein for 25 years of service to Gulfstream. This award named in honor of longtime Apopka Mayor John Land, who served his city for more than 60 years, honors elected municipal officials for their extensive years of dedicated public service. The award's focus is a city, town, or village's legislative body members who have reached 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, or 50 years of service. Local governments rely on the unselfish leadership of dedicated citizens who serve their cities by providing quality services, governing effectively, and working to improve the quality of life for its residents. Multiple terms in an elected office is one of the highest compliments voters can give to an official. Local government is the one closest to the people, and your role as an elected municipal official has helped the citizens of Florida receive essential and quality services. The League thanks you for your commitment to public service and for the greater good of Florida's citizens. The League is honored to recognize you as a recipient of the John Land Years of Service Award. Congratulations, and thank you for your municipal service.
Thank you. If I could present you.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know what to say, but thank you. Thank you for the wonderful residents of Gulfstream, and it's an honor to be on the commission and being the mayor. I'm glad you're the mayor now. But thank you, everybody. And the best thing is the property values have gone up. But thank you all. It's an honor to be here.
You also get this wonderful pin of 25 years.
Thank you.
I expect you to wear it
All the time. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
quite an honor.
It's an honor to serve for 25 years.
Keep it going. I want to see the 50 year. Thank you very much. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? If not, let's move on then to the public hearing. We have a petition for abandonment. Who is going to present that? Zara?
I believe the Davises are here as well,
Okay.
so if they would like to add anything, but before you is a petition for abandonment at the end of Banyan Road. It's in front of 588 Banyan Road, which is owned by the Davises. Earlier this year, they petitioned the town to entertain that. I did reach out to Skip Randolph, our town attorney, who mentioned there was a process for this exact kind of thing in the town of Palm Beach. It revolves around getting an appraisal and settling on a sort of privilege fee or a dollar amount that parties could agree to to go through with this, the abandonment. The abandonment is approximately 2,500 square feet of a public road that the town manager in his correspondence to you has mentioned that he doesn't see any detrimental or negative effects to services or the use of emergency vehicles in accessing any of those properties on Banyan. The appraisal that we received put the approximate value of this 2,500 square feet just over $500,000, $525,000. The Davises, in their correspondence, are willing to pay $200,000 and see that as a win-win for both them and the town. It's really just up to the commission and their discretion whether or not they believe that this is in the best interest of the town to go through with this abandonment. And if I don't know if the Davises have anything to add, but I've spoken to them at length, and again, their correspondence is included in the packet, and I believe all of you have received.
Okay. Any ex parte communications on this matter?
Ex parte communication with the applicant, legal counsel.
With legal counsel regarding the background of the issue to be presented. All right, folks, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, would you like to speak? We'll have you stand up and swear now.
Raise your right hand, please. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you like to come up? Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. We'd like to, again, thank the town commission and the staff for evaluating our application and hopefully reading our letter in advance. Again, it's our hope that we can generate a win-win here and find a common sense compromise. I think we all recognize the absolute craziness of the $525,000 appraised value for the road easement when the Palm Beach County appraised per square foot value for the Triple Point lot would imply a maximum ceiling of $330,000. After all, for the literature on the valuation of easements, the market value of the whole property places the ceiling on just compensation. That's to say the market value of a part taken cannot exceed the market value of the whole property. If the area of the easement were worth more on a per unit basis than the value of the fee simple estate, then we follow the property's burden of easements would sell for more than properties having no easements. Market clearly is not there to sell. I also think common sense tells us that the landlocked horseshoe hole in the road isn't worth the waterfront horseshoe on an equivalent per square foot basis. Otherwise, the square footage in the middle of the property would be worth the same as a similarly sized parcel on one of the lot's waterfront points, which I don't believe is the case. Asked differently, are the town's roads really worth the same as the town's waterfront lots on a per square foot basis? Per Exhibit A in our letter, standard discounts off the $330K ceiling amount for non-waterfront and for minority interest, what we believe generate an easement value of about $100,000 to $150,000. And for us, in the end, despite being significantly more than kind of typical abandonment value, which is zero, what it's probably worth to anybody else, probably zero. And to our original intention to be under $100,000 or $200,000 proposed amount is meant simply to represent a good faith, common sense solution here. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Questions? Comments? John, you've been on commission 25 years.
Real estate's gone up.
Indeed.
Values have
20 to
gone
2
up.
billion.
You know what, I think that the abandonment of this it could be a win-win. I think it increases the property value a significant amount. You can builds it out. So what's the price we want to put on it? That's for the commission to decide. But I think it does increase the value of the property significantly. Because if you were a developer, you'd be building a bigger house. So I think we have to look at it fairly objectively, that's all. I don't know how you all feel about it, but I think it should be a fair amount on both sides. That's all. And also, it was given up for Perry O'Neill, I think, incorporated, just so he could plant the trees and make it look pretty for his own benefit, not to take away from the right of way. So it's up to us.
I feel that the question also is of fairness, that the commission, as a representative of the residents in the town, would have to, come to a fair price, so that this doesn't look like a godsend to you, but if someone else added, your entire lot would increase. And, when this parcel is included in the lot, it becomes part of the whole, so it's not non-waterfront, it's waterfront on three sides. And we don't assess one area for the perimeter at one price and then the interior at another price. You know, it's the whole lot, once it's acquired, would be the same per square foot. So I do think that the appraisal price, of approximately $500,000 is high. But I think, even the appraisal they gave at 3400 Polo Road, that has one side, of the water lot, and that was appraised, approximately 138, whatever, and that's the same per square foot. I think that's more of a ballpark figure that I think would be fair.
Tom?
Well, I took a look at this, and typically, we only have the appraisal about a week or so from Anderson. I mean, typically when you do these things, you have one appraisal. Oftentimes it's suggested that there's a discussion or a disagreement, that there's another appraisal, because the methodology, Anderson Carr is very reputable. Methodology they use, obviously, is the over the fence methodology, which isn't used that often when you see these, but it's basically, it's not zero. It's, what is it worth to, to your point, to the owner, if the owner buys the property and expands the property and unifies the lot, it has value to almost market value is what they're saying as to the person who owns the lot. The next door neighbor can't do anything with it, but that's not the person that's buying it. So it's a little bit confusing. I mean, I do think that there should be a discount in here. There is no valuation discount in our appraisal. Basically, 2,500 square feet. Take a look at a point lot, waterfront lot. Take the average of the price per square foot on those lots and multiply it. It comes out to 525. A dry lot in town right now that's 13,000, 14,000 square feet in the core is about 1.8 million. That's the vacant land price. So I mean, it's right around there. It's a road. I tend to agree with the applicant that there is a discount. The question is, and is the applicant able to provide an appraisal that actually has a discount for the record? We haven't discussed that. But, the applicant's letter, we have a discount off of a reduced price reaching 200. If you just take it, at the top of the napkin, the typical valuation discount, is 20 to 30%. I think most people know that if it's applicable. And so 30% of, 525, which is our appraisal number, would be 157.5. So you subtract that, a 30% discount on our appraised price is 367.5. And I think 30 is fair. I mean, we use that, but the question is, so okay, are you taking it off of our office? Is the commission going to agree that, yeah, we think there should be a discount just because it's landlocked, it's a road? Joan's point and Don's point are exactly right. Once you add it to the lot, it's market value.
Yeah.
But there's only typically only one buyer. You're not going to sell it to the next door neighbor.
But if a developer buys it,
that's
they're going to be paying the $525.
Right, that's what this says.
So I think it has to be fair. I mean, because you bought probably the lot, well, it was probably during a bad time, but I think we have to look at it to be fair on both sides. Because the developer probably would pay the $525.
Right, and then if you sold the
Not
lot,
that
then you
you're
would have competitive market value on a lot, which you're saying that you don't have now. But once it's incorporated into your property, and at some time you sell it or whatever, then you do have available competitive market property price that you have to look at.
I just think it's fair to the town of Gulfstream. I mean, I'm not
Sure.
thing. Not that we're not looking at you, but I think we have to look at it objectively. That what is put in the town of Gulfstream that we don't want to be getting rights away for nothing. I mean, just to benefit, but then I think you should get some kind of discount, but, because you own it, but, probably not 200,000.
Yeah, well, and again, I think the best comp is 3,400 Polo. If you took that per square foot amount times 2,500, is 347,000. And, you know, the Palm Beach County appraised amount is 330,000 for our property is waterfront. So, again, in my mind, the part, you can look at it two ways. What does the buyer gain? What does the seller give up? There's different ways of looking at that with easements, as I understand it, but you took the best comp versus stuff in Boca and Highland Park on the this is not intercoastal. You know, you'd get 347,000 for our property itself, which is the best comp, which is 330 for Palm Beach County appraised amount.
Some of this is waterfront, isn't it?
That particular part is not, it's all, none of it's waterfront in that Whitman Road.
So are you willing to increase your offer to $350,000?
I have to think about it. We need to think about it. Again, I think the Palm Beach County appraised amount is 330, and typically minority interest type, you know, stubs are not the most are worth, again, what the entire parcel is. I understand it's additive to our property value, but it also goes from 525 to 0 if we can't work something out. So I'm happy to take that into consideration. That's where the town's best offer is.
Let's just get, Paul, although you can't vote, you can certainly chime in and comment. Oh, I have no audio.
He's got his headphones plugged in, which is probably second best.
No, we can't hear you.
When he's talking.
Can you hear him, Rebecca?
No. I think he's got his
Headphones.
headphones in his jack, and it's actually
Paul,
interfering with his
pull your headphone jack out.
Yep. Well.
No, we're not getting it. Pull your headphone jack out.
He does have his headphones on, so he can't hear you say pull his headphones jack out. I'm so sorry.
All right, well, then we can't get his comments.
I can call.
Who's gonna call?
We can continue though.
Okay.
Bring it back up.
All right, additional thoughts?
I think I've already said it, I think you deserve a discount, just what discount, that's all. To be fair to the town, too.
Sure, sure.
Or to anybody. But if you were a developer.
We can accept, we can reject, we can recommend the applicant return, we can give suggestions to the applicant as to what might be acceptable on return.
I think your ballpark figure is out there, what Tom said, like 360, whatever, 30%. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm at, and again, it's a little tough because we don't have, any kind of, another appraisal, even though, again, we've got to look at what we have. But I'm sitting here right now today, I'm not at 200.
Yeah.
But I'm not at 5, I'm not at, I'm not at 5.5 either.
Do you need more time to evaluate it, or do you have a number in mind that you could advise the applicant for them to consider? Yes.
I think that's what Tom has suggested, or right around that is about.
Had blocked my, had muted me.
Okay.
Sorry, Paul, we couldn't hear you, but now we can.
Oh, yeah, I got rid of it. Thank you.
Did you
Okay.
have something to say?
Do you have some comments about this application?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Excellent. I apologize for, first, I I apologize for not being there in person. I thank you for accommodating me. As you all know, that I have to be very careful of this virus, given Susie's condition. A couple of observations. First, I think the process has been a very good process. And what I mean by that is there's been a dialogue between the two parties. I think Trey seeking a third-party opinion appraisal was the right thing to do. Now, the rub on this whole discussion is determining fair market value. As we all know, this is a very unique piece of property. And what I've, my experience in some commercial and residential real estate and appraisals has always involved more of an auction process where you have more than one buyer and typically a pretty highly motivated seller. And we don't have that here. And so it's hard to really use the typical standard of fair market value. So where do I come out on this? I come out on the following, and it doesn't help getting to a number, but I think we should figure out a way to agree on price so it's a win-win. Now, I know that sounds noble, nice, but the reality is we don't do a win-win, it's going to be a lose-lose. And the owner of the property doesn't get the opportunity to clean up their title, and the town loses the opportunity to receive some cash that we didn't expect. So I think there should be a meaningful discount. Now, you know, this is not a science and art. What is a number that works for both parties? But I think I'd like to see the town and the homeowner today agree on a price so we can move on. And, you know, sort of, it's just an odd piece of property in our town. And so that's my kind of, like, I don't know what the right number is. I think it should be higher than 200. There's it's at 345. I don't know, but I know it's certainly not 525, in my opinion. And I want to be sure that I'm clear as a commissioner that we do, as commissioners, a fiduciary responsibility to the other residents that we not in any way give this property away. So I'm not suggesting that in any fashion, but it's such a unique circumstance. And by the way, I mean, even, you know, the Anderson Court says it's an estimate of market value. The subject property has little, if any, development potential or use to anyone else. Properties of this type rarely sell, are not typically exposed on the open market. Prices vary. So it's, you know, this methodology is a form of comp and appraisal. But I think that, you know, the number's higher than 200, but that's not 500. So I don't know how we may or get to a resolution that's, a win-win. And, you know, I don't know what's equitable. I mean, we can argue that point all day long, but I think we should get to a number today if we can, because I'd like to see the homeowner clean up the title, and I'd like to see the town get some money. So how do we start? We got to, in the bid and ask, we got a spread here. How do we solve it?
You know what, if you take 525 minus the 200 and do it half, it's like $160,000. If you add that to 200, the spread is 360. That's a number I think might be fair, but I want everyone to assure that if we don't sell it to you and you keep it just the way it is, in the future it will sell, and someday it'll be worth more. So even though we don't take the 360 today, or you don't want to give it to us, it might be worth $1 million in 10 years. So I don't want everybody in this town to be short-sighted, because it's only going to appreciate in value. After 25 years, I can say that.
Well, the house is kept the same. Well, the house is kept the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Unless you're there 100 years from now.
Right, JR, well, help us get to, I think the low threes. I mean, if we're thinking outside the box here as far as discounts and if you're paying less, what you're getting think if it's in here or something, you were talking about the increased FAR that the lot would provide to you versus just keeping the FAR the same. I think you told the staff about that.
Right.
I mean, if you're carving away your development rights a little bit more with the addition of this lot, which would be the square footage you could build there, that would also help us justify a lower price, although it's not gonna be 200,000 to help us get there, which is something that's not considered in any of these appraisals.
So you're saying that in addition to a payment for the 2,500 square feet of property, that property would not be considered in the future as part of FAR?
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want you may have to go back and put a pen and a paper to all this, because as Commissioner Orthwein said, all of that has value. The horseshoe has value going up, your FAR has value going forward on a 10 to 20 year time horizon. So, I mean, you may want to go back and put a pencil to it, but I think that would help us get the price down, and also in the future for the commission, well, what did you do for everybody else? Well, we worked this and reduced that, and, I'm just trying to think outside the box and come to a resolution that gets to an amicable price.
And that restriction would be in perpetuity, so that subsequent purchaser would not.
Right.
I don't know if that's right to subject the property to going forward. I mean, I don't know, I think that's kind of messy. I'd like it clean. I'd rather get 360 now, and it's your priority to have 500 square. I think that gets messy. Do you agree?
Yeah, okay, again,
Yeah.
speaking transparently, again, the current time, there is no plan to build anything different. We've actually spent a lot of money kind of renovating the house and really like it. It's sort of old Florida. But you never know, and it is something we talked about, so I don't want to be disingenuous with that. I really don't care about the option value additional per square footage, because the lot will already support a nice home. I think as Trey pointed out previously, it does help kind of center the home more in terms of getting a better setback, off of where the road currently ends, versus within our property. So that's a value, I think, in the context of building, something bigger. I think one suggestion might be 300, I guess. Again, just if you do the math on 3,400 Polo, it's 347,000. If you go to the Palm Beach counter appraised, I think when we were here before, not to get you in trouble, Trey, but I think the quote was $66,000, but that was for 500 square feet, not 2,500. That number corresponds to the 330,000 that the Palm Beach appraised per square foot value of the entire property would be. So to pay more than the contiguous property on a per square foot basis, or the waterfront lot right across the basin, seems kind of crazy to me. Again, for kind of the lead in, typically the easements are never going to be worth more on a per square foot basis, the entire parcel, or lots of easements would be worth more than lots without easements, which we know is not the case, right? So, I think that there is some discount, and I take the discount to be off of the 330 to 350, not this 525 that incorporates stuff in Highland Beach and Boca on the Intercoastal, and it's apples and oranges from what I think we're talking about here today. It's my personal opinion.
Well, it seems to me like at least the general number area consensus has been given. So perhaps, Mr. Davis, you could, go back and review your offered purchase, perhaps get an appraisal that supports your position, and in return. Is that fair?
Yeah, I can get an appraisal for a lot lower than just again my.
Get appraisal for anything you want.
Yeah, those appraisals are worth the paper they're printed on. So there's appraisals that if you actually look at appraisals of corridors and easements versus lots, it actually would support something significantly lower, in terms of talking to different kind of zoning and, labor
I think it's better, why don't you figure out how much you're willing to pay for it? That's probably instead of getting an appraisal. I agree, you can get appraisal for anything you want.
Well, now there's like 200, it seems like that's not gonna work. So I don't wanna negotiate against myself, I also wanna pay more than what the per square foot value of Palm Beach. They were the lot right across the way, it's 360, 330 for a contiguous lot seems kinda crazy. For road, it's gonna go to zero if we can, work something out, but I'd like to try and find a solution here. Just out of principle, it seems kind of weird to pay more for the road than the whole property, than the property per square foot value itself.
It does strike me as odd that you're comparing square footage of a driveway, the same as square footage in the middle of the property or on the waterfront. However, one's unified, square footage is square footage, I can certainly see. But obviously, a discount has to be in place. When I read through this report, it jumped out at me that we were comparing residential property, complete property values to this specific 2,500 square foot driveway. So I think a discount is certainly would be required by you. Question is the value. I'm not giving an opinion, but I'm sensing what number sounds right here with the commission. So I could be wrong. I'm sensing 330 to 360 in that range. So 350 flag through that. So why don't
we do the 330? That's the Palm Beach appraised amount. That's
Let's take it.
The amount we talked about before, the amount of the lot.
I think Scott Morgan has a figure of 350, I think, I was at 360.
Yeah, you were kind of at 360.
With the 30% discount of Tom's.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tom analyzed it pretty well, I think makes it convincing.
I mean, that's going with the over the fence valuation, which is what our appraiser did. Again, and then we're taking a reasonably strong discount. For lack of marketability, there's only one owner. The competing argument is, once you assemble it, if, it's fair market value, I can build a nice big house on it, increases my setback. I'm okay. I mean, it's not my money on either side. However, we are fiduciaries when it comes to this thing, for lack of a better phrase. I'm anywhere between 325 and 350. My back of the napkin was 367.5. That might be a little high based on the 525. The applicant, stated his position or their position.
How about if we did it with the best comparable, 3,400 Polo, which comes in at 347.5? That's the lot of process that they said was the best comparable. In this is your letter.
Negotiation.
Well, yeah.
101.
The really best comparable is the contiguous property, which is our property, which is 330, not 347.50.
Those are tax numbers.
That's fair.
It's a justifiable basis for the number. I think it's a reasonable compromise. We're talking 10,000 here, 12,000 there. I'd like to give you a hard number today, and that one's fine with me.
347.50. And you can see if you want to pay. You can live
Yeah,
there forever.
you
don't need to decide why you're standing.
Thank you.
You can come think about it, mull it over.
Thank you very much. Very much, appreciate it. Okay, let's move on then to town manager's underground report.
Thank you, Mayor. With respect to Comcast cable, I think you've probably seen the Comcast trucks in the core area. They are finishing up, hooking up all of their current customers to the new fiber. I had a rundown of how many they had completed, but that was a week old. I'm sure they're going to be done with this probably in the next week. So that's really good news. I mean, from Comcast, they did an about face in how they were contacting the residents The first way didn't work because they gave them an 800 number to call, and the call takers didn't know what they were talking about. So Comcast reversed it, called the residents themselves, to set up the appointments, and that's what we had suggested all along. And they finally, did it that way. So you'll see their trucks out in the core area. With respect to AT&T, in an effort to, get the undergrounding completed as soon as we can. The town did meet with AT&T out in the field, and in doing that, AT&T was able to identify what kind of conduits they need to finish their work, or how many conduits that they need to do, or that they need in addition to what's already there. We did find some that they did not know were there. So it worked out in such a way that we were able to put together a scope of work to finish that so they can finish their work. And so we've got a scope of work that we sent to Wilco, and they're putting together an estimate to do the work. We haven't received it yet, but we expect it any day. So most of the conduits are on A1A. There's a few back in the core, just a handful. And so it's critical, though, that we get these done so that we don't get in the way of the schedule of FMC in finishing the work on A1A. And really what's left to do there is the milling and the asphalting, and their subcontractor is Hard Drives, and their schedule will enable them to start doing that work on A1A, County Road, and Little Club Road beginning on December 1st. So the staff would be asking the commission to authorize the staff to contract with Wilco in an amount not to exceed $25,000, piggybacking on a Wilco publicly bid contract with another city to do this work. We don't have an estimate from Wilco yet. I don't believe it will be that much, but because it's important that we get this work done in the next week or 2 weeks before Hard Drives is able to do the milling and the asphalting. It's important that we won't have another meeting until we need to have the work done. So
wasn't money already budgeted for this anyway? Why do you need a separate?
Well, we've already paid. Wilco is we've already completed paying off Wilco, so we would need a new contract, correct?
That's right. Wilco has done everything according to the plan, and this is sort of an additional request by AT&T, so we're treating it separately.
Under normal conditions, this would be like we'd be coming to you for a change order.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get it clarified.
Sure.
Okay.
So we just need the authority to do that.
Motion to approve a separate contract with Wilco to finish the extra conduit work not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yeah.
I can't vote.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yeah.
Commissioner Orthwein? Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Okay, very good.
Okay, the next item is the update on the A1A water main replacement. And so at this point in time, FMC is basically done installing all of the new water mains. All the bacterial testing has been completed. It's been signed off by the health department. They have completed all the tie-ins. One was at Sea Road, one was at Lantana, and then one was at Lakeview, Gulfview, and Sea Road. Okay. And so they have completed that. So and then they just completed, abandoning the existing water main, correct?
Correct.
By filling it with a concrete type material. And so, they really have, I mean, all that's really left is just the milling and the asphalting of all three roads. So,
So those cutovers are all done then, right?
Yes.
That they're operating.
correct.
Is there any noticeable increase in pressure, quality of water, excitement, enthusiasm by the town?
I haven't seen anybody doing any, backflips about the new water main.
I mean, the residents have been, you know, although a lot of them weren't here, the ones that are here have been, pretty happy with our contracted, you know,
Yeah.
current job versus.
They have,
Utility underground.
Right, so, we've gotten, nothing but compliments about the contractor.
Knock on wood, try to keep it going.
I know. So that's where we're at, and, again, that's why it's important for us to, get Wilco to come in and do the work they need to do to help AT&T.
Great. Minor road repair?
Okay, so obviously you guys have seen the work going on out there. The goal for that is to really have from Old School up to Lakeview, completed in probably the next 10 days. And then they'll begin the work on Gulfstream Road. I believe they'll start at Gulfview and go northbound. Where they've been working the last month or month and a half is in the most difficult part of their job, and that is obviously, it's like working in a sponge because there's so much groundwater that they've had to work around that. And then plus, I mean, we actually lost probably about 3 to 3.5 weeks because of all of the rain that we had in October. And so, or we'd be farther along than we are right now. But I'm talking to the mayor this morning. I mean, when it dries off, if you go out there and look at Polo, looking up and down Polo, the road is actually dry, but you will be seeing water that is along the edge of the pavement, but now it's going into catch basins, which is not really had that ability, so that water would sit on top of the road. And so I was just out there yesterday afternoon, and it was just nice to see. I know it's water, but that's where it's supposed to be, and it's going into the catch basins where it's supposed to be doing that. Of course, you know, the final work on Polo Drive, as you all know, it really doesn't have any pitch to it. So initial rain events, you're going to have puddles out there because it's just got no pitch to it to send it off to the side of the road. So, any questions about that work that we're doing? Okay.
Just one quick one. When are we doing the work on the Polo and Old School? We're gonna reset the tops on the pumps and all that? Is that in this phase?
That's not in this job.
That's in the future job?
Well, yeah, I mean, what the vice mayor is talking about is the road is basically over the years sunk.
Yeah, so that's when we come back through after the.
That's right.
After we put in the water. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, and so the pumps were literally built on top of rock, right?
Correct.
And so over the years, the water around them, the roads.
Everything is pretty much settled on the
exteriors of the Right.
concrete pillar that it's been built.
Okay.
Right.
So not part of this project?
No.
I thought Matthews had commented on it, about building it up.
They did mill on the exterior, on the west side of the pumps, next to the property where the Canadians live at.
Okay.
They did mill that, and they're gonna try to repitch that section, so that way it'll still flow and go past the pumps into the catch basin.
But we're not resetting the rest of it. Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Misunderstood.
Right. So, all right, moving on. You know, speaking of flooding and king tides, I've gotten together with Foster Marine for them to do a small project for us that addresses the rising waters of the king tides, and so it's for a small amount of money. I've asked their water drainage division manager to do a short study for us to assess the king tide issues in the town, examining the town's vulnerability, using the county's latest LIDAR information, which provides detailed topographic elevations. They'll identify the extent of the current problem area as well as any other areas that could also be at risk in the near future and discuss the options to mitigate the threats. Solutions may be, for example, seawall modifications or earthen grading. As you all know, one of our seawalls over there on Polo has been breached during the king tides, and the water has just basically sheet flowed right out onto Polo Drive. We have had other seawalls and docks that were breached by the king tides, but the houses on the lot and the elevations of the lot kept that from sheet flowing out onto the roads. So one right across from this north one, their entire dock was underwater and seawall. But the difference is that water didn't get out onto the roadways. So they're going to be doing that work for us. They're also going to be looking at the outfall pipes. According to our NPDES permit, we have 14 outfall pipes, but the town only has 5 check valves, which are in need of replacement. Based on current and projected king tide levels, they can identify which valves to replace first and determine if any of the other outfalls should be fitted with valves.
It's coming back through.
Yes.
That base and
Correct.
the road now, yeah.
Correct. So they're going to be working on this, and they'll make a presentation to us in December.
Very good.
Very good.
Okay. Yes, sir. Moving on, we are going to need to replace the town hall generator fuel tank. It's leaking into the fuel tank, and is it leaking out onto the ground?
Yeah, I had a hydrostatic pressure test done to it, and they assessed that it was consuming so much water through the top of the lid, where it's actually joined on the very bottom of the filler cap, and it's probably 3/4 full of water right now, and I probably have maybe 1/4 of fuel in it. I had it dumped out, and that's when they did the test on it, and it failed, so, it's got a lot of water in it right now, so.
So we're reaching out to the companies that, do that kind of work, and we'll actually have to purchase a new fuel tank to
Does
replace
the
it.
generator function during the,
The generator's on a separate belly tank, it has a separate
Right.
tank for it, right now, it's 3/4 full.
okay,
So
Yeah.
we have fuel in it, but if I need
This
to
is
on the street,
this is really emergency
okay.
fuel. So it's not a simple thing of going out and, loosening up some bolts and putting it on the back of a truck and taking it out of here. I mean, there's the electrostatic testing
Yeah.
that has to be done to it, so it's not driving down the road ready to explode. So,
So we need to send before next storm season, then obviously.
oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
our auxiliary fuel for all.
Right. So this is just an FYI for you. So we'll be coming to you probably with some bid estimates on to do this work.
Okay, good.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yes, sir.
Again, sometimes I hear most of it, not all of it. Did you say, town manager, that you're going to clean up around the tank where it's leaking? I wasn't quite sure what you were saying there.
I mean,
No, the tank can't be cleaned, it's completely,
no, I think,
it's failure on it, so I can't, if we tried to re-weld it, it won't work because it's so rusted and the bottom of the plate sits inside of a concrete casing. So it's an actual steel plate, tank that's inside. It has the coating that surrounds that steel plate, tank, and then it has a concrete coating on top of that. So it's technically 3 tanks into one.
So it's not
So-
leaking into the,
So
No,
the
it's not,
bottom,
it's leaking into the tank itself.
okay, so
is there anything?
it has not leaked onto the ground.
Oh, okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Right. Okay.
okay?
Moving on, this is, obviously, we're getting really close to the beginning of the construction season, and which begins December 1st. I just wanted to remind everybody that we do you know, we do have an ordinance that addresses that, but I just didn't want there to be a, you know, misunderstanding that there can't be any construction activity done. In fact, most of what you would consider typical construction of a new stick-built house is allowed. Now, there are some restricted activities that begin during on December 1st, and an example is pile driving, sandblasting, the use of jackhammers, and you know, things that are very loud. Basically, demoing using a big excavator that's, you know, knocking out concrete decks and pools and houses. But the code also allows there to be some exemptions from that on a temporary basis. And as you know, I've been doing that the last couple of years during the season when we have houses that are under construction and they need to come use a cement truck and the pump to, you know, I mean, because using a cement truck pump is not allowed, or it's a restricted activity during the season. But if somebody comes, they're allowed to come in and get an exception for, you know, maybe like 3 hours one day or maybe a whole day. So
It's managed though.
but it's managed. That's correct. And, you know, and we can contact, you know, neighbors, you know, telling them that that activity is going on. So, but most of your normal, excavating, filling, grading, compacting, paving, if you're, you know, typically using the chute, I mean, you can use the concrete truck anytime, using just the chute as the pump. But if you really think about it, some of these leaf blowers out here would make more noise than a, you know, a concrete pump. So this is just an FYI to you that, you know, we're coming up to the season. We have 3 houses, one of them next to Commissioner Lyons, that are really starting their work during the season. So it will be it will definitely be, as the Vice Mayor said, a managed effort. It is every year during the season.
We will be enforcing the rules on arrival time
Oh,
and
absolutely.
departure time.
Yes.
Just to clarify too, on Saturdays, they can come in and paint interior as long as nothing,
Correct.
because that's been brought up to me
Yes.
several times, because they'll see contractors there.
Right.
But it's inside
Correct.
quiet work.
It's really limited to work that's been done.
Just to acknowledge that, because people go, wait, they're working.
Right, that's right.
So I think as long as it's quiet.
Right. And that's the only thing that can be done on a Saturday. All this other outdoor construction cannot be done on Saturdays during the season.
Very good, thank you.
So,
ARPB meeting, next one is November 19th at 8:30 a.m. Anyone wishes to attend? Finance report.
yes, I'm gonna ask Rebecca to summarize that. I mean, you have the report. There's nothing unusual. I think she has good news to report about our end of the year numbers.
We ended the year in a good position, which was a relief, considering we had some extenuating circumstances
Right.
that really negatively impacted other municipalities. We kind of came out in a good position, not as great as in the past, but in a good position for us to move forward and be very comfortable that it will not negatively impact our CIP plan or anything like that. I just want to remind people that we book expenses and revenues for the month of September all the way through the month of November. So when you were looking at revenues for October, it may look like we are really not, we're in a drought, but it's just because those revenues are, for the most part, being allocated back into the last fiscal year, because it takes such a long time to pass through the Department of Revenue and back to us. And so there is a little bit of a lag, but we are continuing to get money in, and we're in a good position. So I just wanted to.
Very good. Any questions on the finance report? Thank you very much, Rebecca. Chief Allen. Please report.
Rest of the, report being accepted as submitted, just, give you a little highlight, a couple of things here. We did have 2 cars taken at the beginning of the month. One was, recovered, one is still missing. Both of those cars, again, did have the keys in, key fobs in them, marked cars. We had one burglary auto, which was a car that was rummaged through. That was kind of an unusual fluke, I would say, because it was an older vehicle. It wasn't one of the ones that was stealing. And they just popped the glove box all over on the floor, and nothing was taken out of it. So, along with that, we've got people coming back from the season, and as they're coming back, got the officers knocking on doors again if they see cars that are targets, to let the people know, be aware of it, because a lot of them were not here when it did originally occur. Along with that, I'd like to introduce our 13th man, Officer Justin Bernard. He's formerly with Florida Highway Patrol for 25 years. He's done an excellent job for us.
That's good. We welcome you. We've been looking forward to having our 13th police officer here. I think you heard me mention to Chief Allen that I received some phone calls from residents who were quite pleased to see the additional coverage that the town is being provided by our additional police officer. So we have an excellent police force here, great relationships with the residents, and I'm sure you'll fit in very well, Officer.
Coming from the Highway Patrol, I would just caution everybody to try to keep your speed down.
Thank you, Chief.
One other thing, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
is, on the bad note is I had one of my officers resign last week.
Okay.
He had, family issues with his wife with illness and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, well,
So we overlapped about a week and a half down there.
we had a lot of coverage for a week.
And we'll take anything we get, though.
All right, well, you'll be working on that.
We're already working on that.
Exactly. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to a resolution 20-12 that is brought up to us for commission action. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. Let's bring up our proclamation, which is item 10A. Ms. Taylor.
Yes, this is a proclamation proclaiming November 26, 2020 as Marilyn Gooder Mayor Day in the town of Gulfstream, Florida, in recognition of her 100th birthday. Whereas in recognition of many years' outstanding dedication given by Marilyn Gooder Mayor to the children and residents of all ages in the town of Gulfstream, and whereas Marilyn Gooder Mayor has been a resident of Gulfstream since polo was played on the fields on Gulfstream Road, and whereas Marilyn Gooder Mayor served on the Town of Gulfstream Beautification Committee and aided in decision-making for the new town hall when it was built in 1985, and whereas Marilyn Gooder Mayor served Gulfstream children particularly by her participation in and support of St. Paul's School, Gulfstream School, St. Andrew's School, and whereas Marilyn Gooder Mayor served the entire Gulfstream community through her contributions and service to Bethesda Hospital, including numerous Bethesda balls, and whereas Marilyn Gooder Mayor taught Gulfstream children about philanthropy by having youth board meetings, by climbing trees, and conducting pancake hunts in support of Bethesda, and whereas Marilyn Gooder Mayor will celebrate her 100th birthday on November 26, 2020, and whereas the town of Gulfstream wishes to express its best wishes to Marilyn Gooder Mayor, who has lived an outstanding life while also contributing to the quality of life for all Gulfstream residents. Now therefore, I, Scott Morgan, Mayor of the town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, do proclaim November 26, 2020 as Marilyn Gooder Mayor Day in the town of Gulfstream in recognition of 100 years of being an outstanding person, Gulfstream citizen, and friend to all.
Thank you very much, and I can only say that Marilyn is a remarkable woman, and I think the proclamation summarizes it best, that she's such an outstanding person, and we wish her the very best on this 100th year birthday. Joan, would you like to say something?
Well, I'd like to thank you all for the proclamation, and I know she so wanted to be here today, but, because she's being very cautious about COVID, and her whole family's coming for her birthday and to celebrate. So she wants to be at her best health when they arrive. So, but she wants to thank everybody, and her heart is here with us today.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Let's move on then to the resolution, 20-12, Ms. Taylor.
This is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Florida, providing for the appropriations of budget revenues and expenditures in the general fund for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2020, providing an effective date. And be it resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Florida, that the following reappropriations be made, and it's a debit, miscellaneous professional services, which covers the building inspections expenditures, and the inspection fee revenue is a credit, both in the same amount, $35,592, and the contracted legal services, $36,185. That's the debit, and the credit of the same amount in the contingency.
Very good. Any questions? If not, it's been brought to us, resolution number 20-12 for adoption. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve resolution number 20-12.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Move on to the Palm Beach County Law Enforcement Mutual Aid Agreement.
Yes, this is something that the town of Gulfstream has participated in for years. It's officially called the Combined Operational Assistance and Voluntary Cooperation Mutual Aid Agreement. And there are 26 law enforcement agencies that sign on to this. And obviously, it means that we can render or receive law enforcement assistance from all of these other law enforcement agencies when we have those rock concerts and emergencies and civil disturbances in our town.
Water pressure, laboratory experience.
That's right.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the Palm Beach County Law Enforcement Mutual Aid Agreement.
Second. You can, please, go ahead.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Let's move on to a request for bid award for a check valve.
Yes, this is officially known as a double detector check valve that we, put out to bid. You can see the bid responses that we got: Southern Pipeline, Buckeye Plumbing, Florida Flow Control. This is located over at the entrance of Place Asa Way. If you need a description of what a double detector check valve is, we have Anthony here to help out with that.
In the industry, it's called an RPV. It's the same as what a dual check valve is for the system for the water to come in and out of. For the outflows, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just under pressure all the time.
It's a piece of equipment that is now underground, and the state law doesn't allow that anymore. And so this one is leaking water. It needs to be changed. And now there are laws that require a certain
material usage.
Right.
We can't use the same materials we have on the ground right now, so it has to be changed out.
So that tells you how old this one is. But it's going to be. We're already, working with Delray Beach in terms of the location that it's going to be, where it's going to be there in the entry feature of Place Asa Way. But the low bid is Southern Pipeline at $38,750, and we would recommend that bid.
Questions?
Is this valve, there's that concrete, concrete to seal it, is that the one you're talking about? Northwestern, it would be,
Well, where it's located now is right there on the northwest corner, but is it on the sidewalk?
It's built into the sidewalk, Ms. White. It's the one right behind the concrete, pole, right at the exit. You see it on the right.
Yes. Yeah, it's on the exit.
concrete,
Right.
Yeah, correct.
so that will have a,
Well, the meter will stay in the vault, because that's where it has to stay, but the actual dual check valve system that's built into it down in the vault is gonna be removed from being in that vault and above ground, and then our bypass that's in the concrete sidewalk now, they're making us remove it from out of there, and that's the reason why they're requiring 2 dual check valves, because they want one for main water line and one for the bypass. And they're making us put in 2 of them instead of just the one.
it's gonna be visible then.
It will be, but it'll be, the maximum height of it is from the ground to the bottom of the actual devices, will be a foot, it's 12 inches, and then it'll be covered with shrubbery. And
Yeah, I mean, we can
But
put,
it's not like some that you see.
right.
No,
No, we can put landscaping around, totally hide it.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve bid at $38,750 for Southern Pipeline Inc.
Ms. Steele?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. We need to appoint a special magistrate, Mr. Nazaro.
Yes, Mayor. The special magistrate for the town of Gulfstream is appointed by the town commission for a 2-year term. So Greg and I, in dealing with some code enforcement issues, realized that we do not have an active contract with a special magistrate because our previous appointment was longer than 2 years ago. So we sought out Keith Davis from Davis and Ashton. He's the town attorney for the cities of Manalapan, Tequesta, Palm Beach Shores, Royal Palm Beach, and others. Counsel to the Palm Beach County League of Cities. He handled the Palm Beach County Inspector General litigation from Manalapan and his other cities. He's board certified in city, county, and local government law since 2007, and his firm is small but exclusively represents municipalities. Those are his clients. He doesn't represent any individuals. His firm was actually suggested by Joanne O'Connor to represent Bob Ganger when we had the issue where we appointed counsel for him, but he said, we do exclusively represent municipalities. So he does serve as a special magistrate for a number of other municipalities as well. He has agreed to serve as our special magistrate for the rate of $190 an hour, and we believe that he'll be a good special magistrate for the town.
I've known him for 25 years, so he's very good at what he does. So.
Very good. Any comments, questions? If not, is there a motion to approve Mr. Davis as our special magistrate?
Also move to approve the special magistrate, Mr. Davis.
Davis, of Davis and Ashton.
Second. Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Any other comments? Anything for the good of the order? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a few things just on.